quantum healing hypnosis technique session. Yes, I'm one of the practitioners. Along with being a hypnotherapist and working with psychiatry, I have worked with various different types, thousands and thousands of people who require healing and help in a holistic and a spiritual nature. But in these sessions, various different things happen. There is aspect of past life regressions, life between life, higher timelines, and even different beings or the higher self comes forward in order to communicate with the client or give information to the client. These kind of sessions are really intriguing, not only for the client itself, but also for the practitioner itself. And I have got so much of stories to share. One of those stories that I'm sharing today with you is one of a higher timeline, futuristic being coming forward to converse through my client. If you are a Dolores Cann fan and you may have read her books and would have known how she created or curated her information in her books, this is exactly something on a very similar style of information came forward, but this was in 2020 and this information was for 2025. Let's go deep into this particular video. Let's find out more about what really happened in the session and what was the prophecies that came forward so that I can share that with you now. Just as a QHHT practitioner, so the ones who are not fully aware of what QHHT stands for, it stands for Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique. Okay, so this is particular, a variation of work. It could be for healing, for higher transformation, for spiritual purposes, for aspect of traumas, anything that the person is holding within themselves. This is an amazing technique that has been shared by Dolores Cann, and obviously I get the honor to work as a practitioner like her and help a lot more other souls. But along with whatever that I do in QHHT session, I also incorporate my own work in order to help people. As a healer, as a medium, I also gauge a lot of information even before the client comes through and gives me information about themselves first in an interview. So we call it an interview. I talk to the people, and people who have done sessions with me are fully aware of this, that I sense and get information way before in hand, before even I can meet them. So I give the information to them beforehand, and sometimes their loved one will come forward and I give that information as well. That'll be just in the start of it, and then we go into full on into the QHHT session. Now in QHHT session, what really happens is I tend to give, basically there is an hypnosis space that the client would go into a deeper level wherever the healing is required, where they need to go. If it is a past life, they would go there, and if there's a karma that is stuck or there's a contract that is stuck as a karma, that can be brought forward and a healing can come through. Sometimes it also goes to a complete different level where it's a life between life, like what kind of things that they chose for themselves before they came into this lifetime, and they receive information. And then the higher self comes forward. The higher self is the mighty, the big one, okay, who knows absolutely everything, guides you, shows you the way, all of that, okay. And that kind of amazing information as answers come forward as well. Now I'm talking about this particular client who actually came forward as a person who had issues with tremors, and she also had problems with certain other deepened traumas that she had from her childhood. This particular client that I'm talking about, well, I cannot name her at the moment, but she is pretty much famous, and she also has, she channels, she's a psychic, she does a lot of other things as well. But she required to go and needed some other help from somebody else who could help her out. Now, this particular person came forward in order to do certain healing work with me. So basically, this client did tell me about her abilities, and when she basically, so this is how I really do work, is I open the door, the client comes through, I sit with her, I whatever I engage in, whatever I received. So I usually in meditative states before my client would come in, and I would give a lot of information on that of what I received. And that is just my little part that I do as part of soul integration counseling. And then we work and talk through about their lives. Now, when I gave the information that she's supposed to do this work, and there is something very big that she's here to help or give people in the future form. At that time, she could just take the information by saying, yes, she is a psychic and she's been a channeler. And because of circumstances in her life that she's been through a lot, her abilities have moved. As you see, that pain, when people go through pain, okay, they tend to, the intuition kind of encourages them to understand better things, deeper things, spiritual things. And I'm sure that to each and every one of you that I'm talking to you right now, you would understand this if you've been through pain, how close you've gone to spirituality. Now, it was very similar to this particular client as well, that she went through something on a similar level. Now, what really happened from here on is we started talking, and she had her father, her father had passed away. So she had a lot of questions for her dad. And she wanted to basically say that I want to get in touch with my father in the session, and I would like to get more information. Now, as a medium, I already had her father with me to give me a lot of information. Now, she wanted to really sense and feel her father. That was because she would sense and feel other things, but unfortunately, she's not able to sense and feel her dad in some level. Maybe this was part of grief that was holding her back. So I did tell her that information. I gave her some evidential mediumship information that came forward. And as we say that, these sessions are very, very emotional, and she got really emotional as well. But then we went into the session with QHHT, which was lying down and then getting into the regression part. As she laid down, we went into the whole, space where the induction happens, which is, when the hypnotherapist will actually put the person into that state of hypnosis, where the person gets on a deeper level and starts engaging into information that they require to be, and this is for the highest good. And suddenly, she obviously saw a lifetime, and along with that, she also got in touch with her father, a father who's passed and who is on the other side. Along with all the answers and questions that she had, she was receiving that. Now, the father started talking. The father was talking really, really lovingly, showing her a lot of love and basically that support that she required at the time. They both were very spiritual. So the father comes from a very spiritual background, and he also lived his life very spiritually. So that connected really well between them. Now, as the father was also giving information, and remember, in these sessions, I have a recording that is on, because I give these recordings to my clients to listen to them later on, because they are aspects of amazing memories that they can kind of be in. Because when this client is in that lying down position, which is basically the hypnosis session, there's a lot of things that it just feels like a dream. So they remember certain things, they don't remember certain things, or they feel like they remembered a lot, but by the time when they listen to the recording, there's not much that they think that they had remembered. So that recording is very, very important to have. So it was all getting recorded at this point, and suddenly there was a shift in energy. Now remember, I am an intuitive, and I've worked as an intuitive for so many years now. And I can just tell you one thing, that something shifted. At this point, two things happened. One was my clock. I do have a wall clock, and the clock stopped ticking. I realized that very later. And suddenly there was a cold wind, or it just felt like a cold vibe feeling that was around me at that time. And this usually happens if we have sometimes a spirit around, sometimes a guide around, all of that. So as an intuitive, as a medium, that's how we sense as an, extra sensitive person as I am. So I just felt like maybe there is more coming in a different way. Suddenly the father stopped talking. And remember, when the father was talking, it's talking through her, in her voice, okay, but giving information as her or as him. So once they started talking, literally he stopped and saying, hold on, there's somebody else wants to connect. And it just went, it almost felt like as if there was a transformation on a radio, like you're tuning into a different frequency. And suddenly something else started talking through her. Now, this was completely, it freaked me out actually. And I'll be very honest, it did. Freaked out in a way that I was more intrigued, thinking, what else this thing wants to talk, or who is this? And my client started speaking in a very different voice. The voice flipped and changed. So if I have to really say, how did the voice sound? It had a high pitch sound when it was speaking, and it would take breaks as if it's trying to translate or trying to get into the translation. So, if you would know, English is not my first language, but whenever I speak in English, there's a certain side of me will translate things in my own language in order to turn things around. And maybe that is the reason I kind of felt like, oh my God, this thing is trying to speak in a very different way. So long story short, this is the main aspect of what really happened in the session. As soon as this thing started talking, my first question was, would I know who is this and whom am I talking to? As soon as I asked this question, hold your horses, this is what the answer. The answer was, we are your descendants and we are the future of you. This just held, I just don't know what to say to that. And I was like, okay, is this a higher timeline that we have gone into, or, how is this working? I, as a practitioner, act like a reporter. So I keep on asking, or like a detective, keep on asking questions. So not only that I work as a psychic detective, I also work in a detective work when we're doing this kind of sessions as well, to find out more about what is the client really getting into. And then it said, we are here to give you more information about what's coming up in the 5 years time. And you have to buckle up as human beings, and you have to really shift yourself and transform. Remember, this was in 2020, and I have a proof about this and will share it later on in the video. So basically, what really happened was this particular being, and I can only call it a being because when asked the question that, are you future humans? And they said, yes, we are future humans. And I asked the question, do you look like us? And they said, no, things have changed massively because of timeline shift and changes that the humans could have done at that time. The ancestors could have done at that time, but they couldn't. And for that nature, things have changed. We don't look like you. We definitely have the element of you. But if you have to speak or have to engage in understanding how we look, you would really say that we are aliens. At the timeline that we are right now, we would call them as aliens, though they are human descendants. So you can understand how much of things may have changed by then. My question was to them, what is the message that they have come here for, and what is the requirement of this contact? They said we required this contact because we required a body that was easy to move into and have access to give and engage into giving this information. Now, because remember what I mentioned about my client, that she's quite famous, and she does a lot of channelings, and she does she's a psychic, and she does a lot of work on healing space. She might not come across as a channeler, but she channels information in her meditations and other things. But this thing was talking through her and said that she seemed to have the right frequency that they can connect to. So it was kind of like Back to Future movie, where these guys could somehow connect with the frequency, go time traveling, and go and tweak and change something so that the future could be better, or the present could be better. And it just seemed like they had the understanding, and or maybe they even had the advanced technology that they could do it. So apparently they were tweaking into a consciousness, and consciousness in an older timeline that they can tweak into in order to engage and give this information. So what really happened was this particular being started talking through my client, and as they were talking, I could feel there was a force field of energy all around us. And as I was telling you that I could feel the cold coming through, and I could feel the cold sensation throughout. And they just said that the vibration in Earth is pretty cold at the moment. Things are not the way how you would want to see future Earth like. Things have changed, and there is a massive change that is coming forward in 2025. Yes, this is the year that we are in right now. Remember, I have made few other videos that is on UAPs, anomalies, and also predictions of 2025. Now just remember, a lot of this information has been channeled and given in those particular videos. If you haven't watched those videos, go ahead and watch them right now. I also had to make the video a little bit more filtered. The reason behind it, I want my message to be going on to all of you, rather than getting blocked or, by, that there is a control system that happens, unfortunately, and you can only say so much that what is required to be spoken and how much you should speak. But you can really look into the, just try and read through the lines of what I'm trying to say. So the first thing was, they used the name Trump. There were certain things that they had mentioned at that time that I couldn't really open up and speak through, because I don't know how many people would have really believed me. That is the reason I also always give disclaimer into my videos, saying that if you could take that information, then take it. If you can't, then you could just, then that's your free will. But whatever I'm giving you, this is on a futuristic timeline throughout. Information that is gained and received in these manners, along with remote viewing that I normally work and do, and receiving information through intuition or higher timelines in meditative states. So here we go. They mentioned about climatical changes along with changes that will be on not only just weather prone but nature prone. That means they literally spoke highly about floods, and they spoke highly about earthquakes, and which is, you can already see that this is part of something that has already started happening. From the time that we have just stepped into, from the 29th of March, there's a lot of those kind of changes that we've already seen. Now, I know a lot of people who kind of listen to astrological things and so on, they are already talking about it. But remember, I gave this information. This information was received in 2020. And they already mentioned, they gave me the word 5 years, which was 2025. So they already mentioned that. They literally said that the new president, which would be Trump, would now take over in a very, very higher way. When I say higher way, that will be destructive aspect. That will create a recession, massive recession, when it comes to our, first of all, which is, I have spoken about geopolitics in my video with 2025 predictions. I've already mentioned about that, and I've also mentioned about stock market literally crashing, which is coming up, and you all may have seen it by now, by the time this video goes up. So you would all know that there is a lot of this thing that's coming forward. And the reality is that they also mentioned a few things. One was that there are a group of people who are doing this because they want to create the aspect of fear between the people. And there will be a tear between the two sides, which will be the good and the bad. And when we talk about the good and the bad, I know that you all know this, that there's always going to be good and bad, absolutely, in any given form. In order to have a balance, we should be having good and bad together. But it seems like we are tearing apart from the bad that has been there for quite some time, and a transformation requires to be happening. Spirituality is going to be huge around 2025. Hence, unity consciousness is a must. So all the work that I'm doing at the moment is required with unity consciousness. If you are still working with ego, or you have spiritual ego, I know the best, okay, that kind of feeling, then I would say, please let go of this ego. You may think you know more, but there's more that you could also learn and engage in. And try and keep yourself as humble as you can. That is for the people, for the spiritual egos at the moment, which seems to be flaring quite a lot, because a lot of people are going into spirituality, but then getting into a loop into spiritual ego that also lowers the energies down. Along with this, I also got this information that this massive phase will also create a bigger war, and this bigger war will also create a lot of strength and control among the people. At this time, people require to hold their grounds and not get into fear. So they said that 2025 will be the main transformational state, and this message requires to be given and pushed out. My work from 2020 has been similar in order to engage in allowing people to realize that fear is an illusion and we shouldn't be getting into fear. It's one of those tools that are being used for ages now, where you cannot be into the space, then it is your problem. You have to now move forward, no matter what, and stay in that space of love, gratitude, and unity. That is what we require as human beings right now. Now, I know a lot of you people will be literally saying, oh, okay, so 2025, you're telling us right now, I have proof. So when I went through this entire session, after the session finished, I think after a few months, I was being provoked to write a message in a community. It's on a Facebook community. At that time, we used Facebook quite a lot. And Facebook community, this is around 2020, and I can show it on the screen over here. I wrote an entire message about this, telling people about this session that I had with this lady. She obviously wanted to remain anonymous, and I couldn't really open up much about the details at that time. But I did say there are massive things coming up in 5 years, and we require to be in unity consciousness. This is very, very important, because that is a transformational state that we're into. Now, since I'm speaking to you all and telling you all that we are moving into this new era, and whatever information, whatever things that we are doing right now at this moment in time, it is a big and a huge step for human beings. You do your aspect. So whether that is your shadow work that you're working into letting go of karma, anything that you're working with, at the moment, that is still that one drop into the ocean. That is the unity consciousness that we're working with. You feel that you don't want to participate in anything, but don't be in fear. That is the main aspect that you have to really work on, because the whole control system happens because of fear. The whole aspect of duality requires to be now shed and thrown away, so that we can all be one together and understand that we are each other's strengths and not anybody's the villains, or anybody who is working on a different negative platform or negative aspect. Even the negativity that is happening at the moment, I can just tell you that you have learned from that negativity and at least pick the best from that and try and clear and work with it. That is one of the things that we all have to learn and be more open with. So this particular lady just after the session finished. Okay, so this was the information that they came in. They said, we are here to tell you that the timelines of what we are making into shifting things right now, and their main plea was to please go ahead, guys, and be into unity consciousness, because that will help their species. So obviously they have changed, they are human beings, and there's a hybrid aspect that they have been through later on as well. So there's a mix of the human and hybridness that they have gone through. But they are also asking us humans to change and make the shift. If we make the shift here today now, then the future timeline from they come from, and I'm talking about thousands of years over here to you, all of you, okay? So this is around 26 something around at this point. And at this point, you would know that a lot of changes have already created because of the things that we've done at this point in moment. The changes and the repercussions are coming to them, and they are going through that. So that was one of their pleas, that we want to be like you. We want to create this harmonizing aspect of what humans have got at this point in time. We want to have that in our future. And that was the plea from them that they came forward with. It was just fascinating in order to watch all of this at this point. I really thought that I was recording all of this information. I was getting very, very excited to share this. But I brought my client back. So this particular thing channeled almost 10 minutes, closer to 10 minutes. And as soon as it finished channeling, or rather my client finished channeling, it just moved off and she went quiet. And I brought her back from the hypnosis state. And I made her sit, and she goes, Nikki, I'm extremely sorry. Her reaction was, I'm sorry, I know I fell off to sleep. And I said, you didn't fall off to sleep. I hope you know this. And she goes, didn't I? And I said, no, there was another being, talking through you. She goes, and she got intrigued, and she goes, what do you mean by that? And I said, I don't know how much you remember, but your father was talking. And then suddenly something changed, and a frequency changed, and there was a complete different shift into the air, and this being started talking. She goes, I don't remember anything. Unfortunately, the word was, I couldn't really even give that information to her at this time, because the recorder that I was recording from, the battery got drained. Anything and everything electronical that was there in the room, the battery was drained or they stopped working at the time when this thing was talking through. Also, you can understand when there is a higher electromagnetic field around you, you see fluctuations with gadgets or electronic things, it stopped working. So you would know this, because even when we speak about Himalayas, okay, when compass stops working, nothing works over there. That's because the high electromagnetic field in those areas, and anything that you go which has got high electromagnetic fields, nothing which is electrical or gadgety things can work. I can tell you another thing. I had to record this twice because my other recording stopped working. So I don't know what is this all about, but it just seems there is high frequency into all of these messages that I'm giving you at the moment. So I would really ask you to be fully aware of the information that I'm giving you at the moment, and maybe keep this information. Try and understand that the information that I have given you earlier on my predictions for 2025, and I've also said that there are higher secrets that are coming out in open. Remember, these secrets are also helped by these particular beings. And by the way, grays are the ones that are the closest that we have as human beings, the future human beings, by the way. So try and get into that. I will make a video about grays and how we turn into them and how they are coming back to us again and again. I've made certain reels on this, and I've already shared that information of how grays are different. Well, not different, but how they are similar yet different, and they look like aliens, but that is just future humans at the moment, okay, that are coming from all the way from higher timelines trying to shift and change certain things. So we have two types of rays. One is the good ones, which are the human beings, the future ones. So yes, our descendants are connecting and contacting us. No wonder you will see that there is another side of all of us that is changing, and the ability to say yes to spirituality, even to say yes to aliens, or UFOs, or the UAPs as we say. All of this is becoming a huge part of us because we are moving into that era, and these are the amazing souls that they are trying to contact us and trying to wake us up from this slumber that we all are in. So I hope this particular video makes sense. I was completely flabbergasted with this whole information, and I can just tell you one thing, that it still kind of makes me think and go beyond. Now, when I do channel the council, and when I'm when I'm talking the council, I'm talking with the Galactic Federation, but they're a little different to what you normally hear around. But there is a similar information that comes forward. Most of the channels who are channeling at the moment say the same thing, and 2025 is the one. I'll put it on the screen about the message that I'd written in 2020. This was in 20th October, and I had written this entire information out. And I did say a bigger thank you to Dolores Cannon for allowing me to do this work and share this information out to people. So guys, thank you once again for listening and hearing this out. And I hope you could take something out from this and understand that timeline shifts are possible, and our descendants, because past, present, future, that's a line that we all know, that everything is happening at the same go. This is a bigger proof that nobody else can give you more than this. And also a very, very important message for all of you, just to let you guys know that 63% people are actually not subscribed and still watching our content. Guys, if you really like this content and you want me to keep on making these kind of videos, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel, comment and like, and even share this video so that more people could know about what's coming up and how we can get into these kind of changes if there is anything required. I send you a lot of love and looking forward to seeing you all again in the next video. Thank you once again.